Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls all over the world. Y'all know what time it is when y'all see me on a Tuesday night, right? Now, I know that you're seeing something a little bit different tonight than you normally see, but no Tony Tone tonight. My good man, Tony Tone, he's on vacation with his family. We will be back next week. We 100% will be back next week. So, um, in the meantime, in between time, I'm in effect. Yes, I am. I am in effect, and I'm ready to rock and roll. So tonight, I want to talk a little bit about winning culture and what winning actually means, how important winning is, and not just how important winning is. What does it mean for a guy's legacy? What does it mean for my career? And in order to get to the bottom of that, and in order to understand that, in my estimation, I think you got to factor in how winning comes about. There's different levels of winning, right? I've always felt like there's different levels of winning. Mitch Richmond's championship is not the same as Rip Hamilton's championship. It isn't. No. Um, Kawhi Leonard's championship in 2019 is not the same as Kevin Durant's championship in 2017. It's not. It's not. LeBron James's championship in 2013 or in 2012 is not the same as Olajuwon's championship in 1995. Winning matters. 100% it does. But winning is different for different levels of players. And when you factor in everything else that a guy does, what's holding them up? Right? What exactly is holding them up? And what I mean when I say what's holding them up, Russell Westbrook, for example. Russ has done everything necessary, right? Russell Westbrook has done everything necessary in order to be great. It's that one thing he's missing. And what is that one thing that Russ is missing? That NBA championship. He's missing that. Now, would Russ, had they won in Oklahoma City with KD, with that championship, let's say they won it in 16 or in 17, if KD would have came back, would that championship hold more weight than Russ hanging on, in basically the later years of his career, right? He hanging on in the later years of his career, and he ends up getting one with Joker. Now, that's not to say that championship isn't validated, because I feel like, if you're part of a championship team, it's valid. But would it mean more had he done it with Russ because it was more organic? Because they built it from the ground up, and they won it that way, as opposed to, this is Russ's fourth. This is his fourth team. He goes from Oklahoma City to Houston, from Houston to Washington, from Washington to the Lakers, from the Lakers to the Clippers. I'm sorry, this is his fifth team. This is his fifth team in as many years. In the last 5 years, since he left Oklahoma City, he's been on 5 different teams, right? So I don't think that all championships are measured the same, but I do think that winning is different in different spaces. Because, like I said, Mitch Richmond's championship that he won with the Lakers in 2002 is not the same as Rip Hamilton's championship in 2004. Rip Hamilton was an integral part of that Detroit Piston unit. They built that thing. They were a bunch of cast-offs. They were a bunch of guys who I'm not going to say nobody. They were a bunch of guys who people didn't really believe in them as much as they should have. and it was more organic. Mitch Richmond retired that next season. He was over. He was done after the 2002 season. He was done. And he didn't play that much with that Laker team. He was just there. In the process of him being there, he happened to be on the same crew with Kobe Bryant and Shaq. And he was part of it. He jumped on the bandwagon of a dynasty. Now, do I fault Mitch Richmond for that? I don't. And the reason why I don't is because at that point, Mitch had been in the league. Mitch had been in the league at that point for 15 years. He had been in the league for 15 years at that point. Why not chase championships? Why not do that? I don't get it. Yeah, why not chase championships? Why not go after the ultimate goal? I've done it everything else. Mitch Richmond has been an all-star. He'd been an all-pro. He had been to the playoffs, right? He had been one of the better two guards in the game. He had done that already. So I asked that question. I say that to ask the question: if winning is all that matters, how you win, does that matter? And I got a super chat from Rajon, and he says, "Unk, is Russ' season where he broke the triple doubles record top 5 by a player ever?" No, it isn't. I don't think so. I don't think it was better than any of. To be honest with you, I don't think it was better than any of those 62 seasons. I don't think it was better than Chamberlain's 50 and 27 season. I don't think it was better than Oscar Robertson. I don't think it was better than Bob Pettit that year. I don't think it was better than Olajuwon's 93-94 season. I don't think it was better than Jordan in 88-89. I don't think it was better than Shaq in 2000. I don't think it was better than Jabbar in 72. I don't think it was better than Magic in 87. I don't think it was better than Bird in 84. I don't think it was better than KG in 2004. I mean, I could go on when we're talking about great seasons and seasons better than. I don't think Russ's triple double season was better than Oscar Robertson's triple double season. I don't think it was better than that. I don't think it was better than the year Oscar Robertson won the league MVP. So, I mean, I can run down a number of different seasons that I don't think that Russ triple-double season was better than. It wasn't better than James's 13 season. It wasn't better than James in 09. It wasn't better than Curry in 16. I mean, there are a number of different seasons that, I can go off. It wasn't better than Jordan in 92, I don't think. So, I mean, there are a number of different seasons. So, that's where I'm at. But anyway, like I was saying, we're talking about winning, and if winning is all that matters, right? If winning is all that matters, then how you win, does that matter? And if how you win is all that matters, I mean, if how you win doesn't matter, then we can't differentiate championships. But that's just not true, because there are plenty of guys. I mean, there are plenty of guys who've won, but that's not the equivalent to other guys winning. I mean, Chauncey Billups, his championship in 2004 is not the same as Gary Payton's in 2006 with the Miami Heat. Chauncey Billups played a much bigger role. He was much better. He was the finals MVP. I mean, Gary Payton at that time, I think that was his last season in the league. If it wasn't his last season, it was his next to last season in the league. And did he play an integral role on that Miami Heat team in 2006? Yeah, he did. Wasn't the same as Chauncey Billups, though. Was not the same as Chauncey Billups. I feel like winning matters, but there's different levels. And I actually had this conversation a couple of years back. And to put some context on it, if you are going to tell me that I'm going to put Mitch Richmond in the same category with Clyde Drexler because he won an NBA championship like Clyde Drexler did, that's not fair. No, that's not fair. There has to be some context to that. You know, Drex at that in 1995, he was on the other side of his career, but he still was an elite player. Mitch Richmond in 2002 was not an elite player anymore. No, he was not. Mm-mm. Mitch Richmond was not an elite player anymore in 2002. No, he was not. If you're going to tell me that Kawhi Leonard, or you're going to tell me that KD, his championship in 2017 was the same as Kawhi Leonard's championship in 2019, we got to put some context on that, because just like Kawhi Leonard jumped on a damn good team, or just like KD jumped on a damn good team, Kawhi Leonard jumped on a damn good team too, but it wasn't nearly as talented as what KD jumped on. Not only was it not nearly as talented, right? Not only was it not nearly as talented, but that crew had been together for a while. You had a number of different trades. You had a number of different roster moves when Kawhi Leonard got on that Toronto roster. Kyle Lowry was still there, sure. Kyle Lowry was still there, sure. Let's see. Kyle Lowry was still there. Ibaka, you got him in a trade. Not only did you get Ibaka in a trade, you got Gasol in a trade. Van Fleet was new. OG Anunoby didn't play the entire playoffs. He was out. You had a number. Danny Green was new. So you had a number of different guys off that crew that were new. You basically traded Harrison Barnes for KD, right? That's essentially who you traded. You essentially traded Harrison Barnes for KD. I'm not sure if that's a fair trade. I don't think that's a fair trade if we're being honest, right? I'm not sure if we're being honest. If we're being honest, but the number of different guys, like I said, OG didn't play the entire playoffs. You already had Kyle Lowry, Pascal Siakam at that point. He was young. I think he was in year 2, so it wasn't like he was seasoned. He had just got there. Van Fleet had just got there. You had just traded for Ibaka. You had just traded for Gasol. It was a number of different roster moves on this crew. There was a number of different roster moves on this crew that made this team better, but it wasn't absolute. And I'm on record saying, as good as Kawhi Leonard was, as good as this Toronto Raptors team actually became, as good as this Raptor team actually became, we can't leave out that the boogeyman was gone in the Eastern Conference. That matters. So this is what I mean when I say, you know, if winning is all that matters, if winning is all that matters, that means that you have to hold every championship that every guy won in the same regard. And that's just not realistic. Right? That's just not realistic. Noman, whatever your name is, why don't you come up here, Noman? How about that? And don't call me Grill Town. You don't know me. You don't know anything about me. I'm in here trying to have a conversation. So don't come in here with the Grill Town. You don't know me like that. I don't know you. You don't know me. Do not come in my house disrespecting me. You don't know me. So like I was saying, you have to hold all these championships in the same regard. And that's just not realistic, because you're not going to hold what Olajuwon did in 95 in the same, you're not going to hold what Olajuwon did in 95 in the same regard with what Doc did in 83. You're not going to do that, because I mean, that was a bomb squad Doc was on with Andrew Toney and Bobby Jones and Maurice Cheeks, and did you add Moses Malone? Even though, I mean, at that point, Doc had been to the NBA championship. That was the fourth time in 6 years at that point. Doc had been to the NBA championship. And before that, he had lost. I mean, there was 3 times in 5 years. He had lost to the Trailblazers and lost to the Lakers twice. So what I'm saying is if winning is all that matters, right? If winning is all that matters, you have to put it in different contexts because winning isn't all that matters, right? Winning can't be all that matters. There has to be some context put on it, because if that was all it was, right? If that was all it was, right? If that was all it was, then we would hold every champion to the same level. And I'm having a difficult time believing that I'm holding Isaiah Thomas's 89 ring up with the Boston Celtics in 24. I don't think that's the same. I don't. I do not think that that's the same. Even though they had some stuff that they had to deal with. Sure they did, right? They had to go through he had to go through Jordan that year, he had to go through Bird that year. He had to go through Magic, who got hurt in 88 and 89. He got hurt, but he still had to go through them. And the 24 Celtics, I don't think that championship is the same as what happened with the 89 Pistons. Even though I still think, for all intents purposes, if the Miami Heat are healthy, if the Cavs are healthy, if the Indiana Pacers are healthy, if Milwaukee's healthy, I still think the Celtics win the NBA championship. But the fact that the fact that they had to, I mean, the fact that those teams broke down, right? The fact that those teams broke down, I can't hold that championship. Even though they did what everybody said that they couldn't do, they did it. I don't hold that championship in the same regard with some of the other ones. I don't hold it in the same regard with the 86 Celtics. I don't. I don't hold it in the same regard as the 2001 Lakers, considering everything that they had to do, right? So, and you're right, Wood. You're right, Wood. There is no I in team. There's a me in team, though. 100% there is. Just like there's an I in win, there's a me in team. And the first part about being on a team, the first part about being on a team is you doing your job. I can't help you do your job until I do my job. That's the first thing I have to do. I got to do my job. Once I do my job, then I can help you do your job. Did Bryant say that? I didn't know he said that. That's news to me. I did not know he said that. I did not know he said that. I just know that there is a me in team. I didn't know that. So, with that being said, the winning culture that we live in, it gets tricky for me. And the reason why it gets tricky for me is off the strength that there's so many stipulations put on it. You know, when a team wins, well, who did you beat? And then, first, let's rewind. And me specifically, I care about what you did, when you did it, where you did it, who you did it against. That's what I care about when it comes to winning. Right? I those are the things that I care about. I care about what you did, I care about when you did it, I care about where you did it, and I care about who you did it against. That matters to me. And if I'm talking about a team, if I'm talking about a guy who has won, right? Who who has eventually won, right? If I'm talking about a guy who has eventually won, okay, who did you do it against? When did you do it? How did you do it? Where did you do it? Right? Who did you do it against? When did you do it? How and where? So, and when we're talking about winning, how long were you on top? Because, as good as that Miami Heat team was in 2006, as good as that Miami Heat team was in 2006, were they a fluke? I mean, they got swept the next year in the playoffs. Again, in the first round, and it wasn't like they went deep into the playoffs and lost in the Eastern Conference Championship, right? It wasn't like they lost in the Eastern Finals, or they lost in Game 7 of the semifinals, or they lost in the NBA championship, right? Right? It's not like that. Marcus, come on, man. Can I have a show? But I recognize why I'm here. So, Marcus, you want to challenge my theory? Tell me James, Jordan, Jabbar, Chamberlain, Russell, Magic, Bird, Duncan, Lajuan, Diesel. Of those 10 guys, who do I need to take out for Bryant? If Bryant should be a top 10 player, give me legit logic who I should take out for those 10 guys. In your estimation, with my criteria of winning, I'm gonna run down, because you want to be part of the show and you want to challenge my theory, right? You want to challenge my theory and you want to be part of the show. So tell me, I'm gonna run down. I'm gonna run down my criteria. Number 1, is your game timeless? Number 2, did you dominate? Number 3, did you win? Number 4, is your game transcendent? Number 5, how impactful were you in society? And when I say all of those things, I come up with 10 guys: James, Jordan, Jabbar, Chamberlain, Russell, Magic, Bird, Duncan, Lajuan, Diesel. Of those 10 guys, who do I need to take off the roster in your estimation? Because again, you want to challenge my theory. So by my logic, Kobe Bryant should be a top 10 player. So who should I take off the list, my man, in your estimation? Who do you think? Because again, I'm actually on record saying this, right? I'm actually on record saying this. When I say that, if you got Kobe Bryant anywhere between 7 and 11, I take no problem with that. You can't convince me he's the second or third best player ever to play. You can't convince me of that. The idea for you, Marcus, to say to me that Kobe Bryant, to say to me, and I fucking hate talking about this guy. And the reason why I hate talking about him is because now we got to talk about him in a negative way. And I don't want to do that. I do not want to do that. And I will not do that. I will not talk about him in a negative way. But for you to tell me that Bryant was more impactful than the best defensive player, in my estimation, in NBA history, I don't agree with that. I do not. And I will not agree with that. How much he impacted, not only how much he impacted defenses, how much he impacted teams. The fact that you now have to scheme as a big man, you now have to scheme not just for him defensively, but offensively. You now have to, that's called impact. You now have to devise your whole entire offensive scheme around what he does defensively. And now not only are you doing that, you're doing that with every other team. Every other team is doing that too. That's called impact right there. So with that being said, a guy as good as Olajuwon was, and me being a fan of the big man, and with the way I see the NBA, that's my guys. Marcus, if you don't agree with it, yo, go get with somebody who does, my man. That's what you can do. Go get with somebody who does. So now, as I was saying, I'm sorry I got thrown off the track. When we talk about winning, right? When we talk about winning, and we talk about how important you were to winning, because again, I get this vibe, right? I get this vibe that, and I have a difficult time with it, man. When I have a difficult time with it when people bring up winning, and that's all they say, right? They don't say anything else. There's nothing else that they say. Yo, he got 3 championships. or he's got 2 championships, or he's got 5 championships, and they don't put anything on it. And I'd like to think that I'd like to think that that kind of stuff matters. Like, how did you do it? Who did you do it against? When did you do it? How long were you on top? Like that kind of I feel like that stuff matters. And when we're equating NBA champions, I feel like the same way in football too. When I think football is a little bit, I feel like football is just a little bit different. I feel like football is just a little bit different in the aspect that it takes more of the guys in order for us to win. I don't think it takes as much of the rest of the guys in order for us to win. Don't get me wrong, it does take a lot of the guys in order for us to win. That has to happen 100%. But with that being said, in football, it takes a collection of guys, right? It takes more of a collection of guys in order for us to win. So I think it's a little bit different in football, but I do care about you as a quarterback. I do care about you as a running back. I do care about you as a defensive player. Like, who did you go up against? Right? I do care about that kind of stuff because I feel like it impacts your winning. How much did you win? Who did you win against? So I know we live in a. I do know that we live in a winning culture, right? And that's why I want to segue into that. I want to segue into the international game. Like the international game, in terms of gold medals, it wasn't that big of a deal until the Dream Team in '92 went over to Barcelona, and now it becomes more of a global thing. And winning gold medals, now that's added to your legacy. So, what exactly do gold medals bring to your legacy? Like, do people really talk about do people really talk about gold medals? Because if they did, right, if they did talk about gold medals, like why don't we talk about Carmelo Anthony more than we do? I think he's got 4 of them, right? I think Carmelo Anthony's got 4 of them. And the process of him having, let's see, he was on the crew in '08. He was on the crew in 12. He was on the crew in '04 too, but they won the bronze. Um, I know he was on the crew in '04. They won the bronze. He was on the crew in '08. He was on the crew in 12. Um, I think he was on the crew in 16 too. Yeah, I do think he was on the crew in 16. I'm not sure, but I know he wasn't on the crew in 20. I do know that. So I think 16 was his. I think he's got 3 gold medals. I think he retired from the Olympics. I think he was the all-time leading scorer. He was the most decorated Olympic athlete in USA basketball history at that point. Nobody had done more than him. Bucket getter, 3 gold medals. Nobody had done more than him. But we don't talk about him nearly as much. And I don't think that the international game. I don't think that they talk. I think outside of America, they value the international game a lot more than they do here. I think it's because we've had the majority of the talent. I feel like we've had the majority of the talent, and it's almost like we're expected to win, right? So because we're expected to win, it's not held in as high of it's not held in as high a regard, which doesn't really make much sense because if that's true, then how come teams that win the NBA championship who are expected to win, yet they're held in a higher regard? Like we praise that. But in the international game, you're expected to beat Argentina. You're expected to beat Spain. You're expected to beat Germany. but that's not held in nearly as high a regard, even though those teams are damn good teams. If you've been watching the Olympics, that German team is damn good. The reference point that I always go back to, is that Spanish team in 2008. None of you guys talk nearly as much about that Spanish team. That's the same Spanish team. I think Team USA destroyed them in the prelims like 2 weeks before that. Destroyed them. They get them in the gold medal game, and it's a one-possession game. They're in a dogfight. They are in a dogfight with them. It is incredible what you're looking at, right? It's incredible what you're looking at with that crew. So, with that being said, there's a bit of a divide for me, because I feel like in terms of championships, I think especially internationally, I think that should be held in just as high a regard. You're telling me that it's not off the strength that we're expected to win, then that means that the 2001 Lakers were expected to win the NBA championship because they had won it the year before. So I shouldn't hold them in as high a regard because they were expected to win it. The Rockets were expected to win the NBA championship in '95. So I shouldn't hold them in a higher regard. The Bulls in '92 were expected to win it. The Miami Heat in 13 were expected to win it. The Warriors in 18 were expected to win it. So I shouldn't hold them in a higher regard because it's the NBA? Nah, man. No. When we're talking about when we're talking about the international game, this is the best in the world. This is the best the world has to offer. The best. The best that the world has to offer. So I feel like if I'm going to hold what you do in the Olympics, I feel like what you do in the NBA, if I'm going to hold that in a high regard, I feel like I got to do the same with the Olympics. I'm playing on a team with better talent, sure. I'm playing on, and there are some guys. This goes back to the logic of not all championships are the same. So I'm playing on a team with better talent, but with also playing on a team with better talent, what I'm also doing is I'm going up against the best that the world has to offer. Right? I'm going up against I'm going up against the best that the world has to offer. And with what the best the world has to offer, I mean, I like to think that holds weight. I'd like to think that holds a lot of weight. Now, again, there are some guys in the NBA who've won NBA championships with less. There are some guys, and they're going up against the best that the NBA has to offer. So because they're going up against the best that the NBA has to offer, that's held in a pretty high regard. I can't discount that. So when that team wins the NBA championship in 1994, with him at the helm, with Kenny Smith at the one, Vernon Maxwell, Robert Horry, Otis Thorpe, and Olajuwon, and then you got Mario Elie, Carlos Herrera, Matt Bullard. You got guys like that. You got Sam Cassell, right? You got guys like that. Now, from a talent standpoint, if you look at the rest of the league, it is less than. But with Olajuwon and with that group being together for as long as they've been together, right? With Olajuwon, with that group being together for as long as they've been together, I would have to say that's pretty impressive, right? I'd have to say that that's pretty impressive. But, however, here's the difference. When I'm going up against the world, and what I don't want to do, I'm not going to say the difference. I feel like these two are held in a different regard, and I don't think that they should be held in that much of a different regard. I feel like they should be held Sure, I can give you the NBA championship because there are guys who win with less, right? There are guys who win with less, and with guys winning with less, I'd like to think that I value that a little bit more, sure, but I don't want to discount winning the gold medal. And the reason why I don't want to discount winning the gold medal because this is the best the world has to offer. My crew that I'm on, this is the best my country has to offer. And we're going up against the rest of the world, and this is the best that they have to offer. It's the same. I can't put it in the words in terms of like sprinters because that's an individual sport. Ain't nobody else running, right? There's nobody else running. But you know, when you play volleyball in the Olympics, when you play rugby in the Olympics, okay, this is the best that we got. And other countries, this is the best that they got. And we're going up against that in the world. So I'd like to think that that should be held in a pretty high regard, especially if I'm getting busy, right? Especially if I'm getting busy on that level. It'd be one thing if I was just there, right? And we were eking out wins, and but if I'm here and I'm one of the major cogs and us winning, I'm holding gold medals in a higher I'm holding gold medals in a higher regard. Do I hold them in a higher regard than the NBA? No, but I definitely hold them in a higher regard. I 100% do that. I definitely hold them in a higher regard than what people do. So, with that being said, I do think that gold medals matter for a great player's legacy because I think the Olympics are a big deal, and I think that there has to be some context put into winning because it can't just be we won and that's the end of it. Nah, I can't get with that logic because if that's the case, then that means that all NBA championships are the same, and they're not all the same. So, what up?
I
What up?
mean, oh, okay. Uh, how many Olympics did Michael Jordan play?
Two.
Two. He was Super Two, right? Funny.
Yes.
All right, so I think the Olympics is like I think the Olympics will help people cases like people like Manu Ginobili more than it would like any American because just because of the talent we have over here.
So that's it because of the talent that you have.
Yeah,
So the
especially in that
international,
song.
so the international game isn't as big a deal for you as it's been in the past, considering how big a deal the Olympics are today than what it was in 1988.
Yeah. We're talking about today because the international players got like they basically caught up, like almost caught up to us. But if we're talking about like then I don't think when the Americans when it really matters as much. But I think going forward it will.
So it matters more. So it matters more today
Yeah, it definitely matters more today. Definitely,
than it
it
did in
definitely matters more.
1992, than it did in
Yeah,
1988. It matters
yeah.
more than it did in 1988 because even though there were college players in 1988, it weren't pros, by the way. It was just college guys.
Hmm.
So if you're talking about, I'm trying to understand what your stance is because it sounds to me like you want to you think that because I want to make sure I'm understanding you correctly.
Yeah,
You're going off the logic that it doesn't matter as much back then
yeah.
because
Nah,
pros
because
didn't play. Because pros didn't play, even though pros played for other countries, and we still were winning gold medals.
but like those were those people in the NBA.
Let's see, Divock. No, Divock wasn't in the NBA at that point. No, none of those guys that I recall.
That's what
Let's
I'm
see,
saying.
who was in the NBA. I don't think any of those guys were in the NBA. So the fact that they weren't in the NBA,
Yeah, the
they weren't
best
playing
league in the
against the
world.
best competition in the world, is what you're saying.
No, yeah, they were playing in the best competition for that country, but them countries back then weren't like they not like how they is now. They're not like how they are now.
I'm still trying to figure out where you're going with this. What are you telling me that it matters more today than it did back then?
Yes, because the talent
Okay,
is
so
more
all
is
right,
getting
so
more equal.
okay, so I just said why don't we talk about Carmelo Anthony more? I literally just said that.
Why don't we talk about Carmelo Anthony
Yeah,
more?
why don't we talk about Carmelo Anthony more? Because he didn't win in
Because
the
it's just
NBA?
like that, and because he's just on the bomb squad. He just on the bomb squad. That's why.
So if that's true, then why don't we talk about other guys playing on the bomb squads in the NBA and winning NBA championships? And why do we hold them in such a high regard?
It wouldn't because look, not every single great player is on that one team. It's great. It's great players on every team. You know, in the USA, most of the majority of the greatest players are on the American team, especially at that time. In what 12, especially in that time, it was nothing but Americans that was just on that team.
So why don't we hold guys who play in the NBA on NBA championship teams on bomb squads? Why don't we hold them in a higher regard? Why do we talk less about them?
I think that's just a toxic fan base, honestly. You know, me personally, I don't look at it that way because would you agree that MJ was on the bomb squad?
Yes, I would.
And I think he's the greatest of all time. Do you think Kareem was on a bomb squad before?
Yes, I do.
And I think he's top 3 all time. LeBron James.
He was on a bomb squad.
And some people that's their goal. So I think, you know,
Bill Russell was on a bomb squad. Chamberlain was on a bomb squad.
Yeah,
Bird was
the
on a
Bill
bomb
Russell
squad.
thing.
Magic was on a bomb squad. Duncan was on a bomb squad.
The Bill Russell thing, that's where you can probably get it because that's where your point probably like stands the most because people don't have him as a goal, but he 11-0. Well, hold on, now 11-1, right?
Right, 8-0.
8-0. But he
8
got
straight.
11 chips.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think because of the time he played in, for some weird reason that you know people don't have him ranked as high as they probably should have, or they probably should. You know, he should probably be top 5, but most people it's like towards like 7 to 10.
I have him top 5.
Yeah,
I do.
So, yeah, I think it's just that. Like, I think it'll matter more going forward, but I think like before, like you know, because of the greatest NBA players are all on one team. Basically, they were all American, especially in 2012. Like when the international people, they didn't start getting in the top 5s and stuff like that till like the 2020s.
International players?
Yeah, like they ain't getting like in the top 5 NBA conversations until like the 2020s. Like the
International
majority
players,
of them.
you mean all time or when they were playing? They were top 5 players in the league. Is that what you're saying?
When they were playing, like how you look at it now, like you got Jokic, Luka, Shea, Giannis, and Embiid. Those are the top 5.
Sure.
I don't think that's never happened.
That's not true. Because Tim Duncan was a top 5 player in the league. Not only was Tim Duncan.
No, I'm talking about 5. I'm talking about 5. Like 5 at once.
Yeah. 5 international players you're talking about?
Yeah, 5 at once.
Of course. I mean, but because the games got expanded, but there were international players in the top 5. Of course. That definitely was going on.
Yeah, Hakeem, he's international, right? Yeah.
Yes, he was in the top 5. Dirk was in the top 5.
Yeah.
Tim Duncan was in the top 5 during that time. Ewing was a top 10 player. He's Jamaican. So I mean, there were international players that were, you know, top 5 players. But I think I want to make sure that I'm following you because you're telling me that it's going to matter more in the future. How further down the line do we need to go? I mean, it's been 30 years.
I'm not gonna lie.
How much? I don't understand how much longer it's gonna take.
Look, with the rise of Wemby, we just seen the South Sudan team, even though that was only an exhibition game, but the Canadian team, just the Germans. I just think everybody just getting much better than they were back then. Like I don't think it was even like I just think they're just getting way better than what they were back then. So the competition, it would be stiffer. And then you win against that, you'll probably deserve more credit than, you know, back then. That's why we don't talk about Carmelo like that.
Even though we lost the gold medal in 2004 because the competition.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That helps Manu. That helps Manu more than Americans. That helps Manu more because he had to beat that team. That moves him up more.
And the team that we had with Duncan and Iverson, who were in 2004, I mean, you can make Tim Duncan was a top 3 player in the world during that time. Allen Iverson was a top 6, top 7 player in the world during that time.
Yeah, he was still, yeah.
So, I mean, you had players on that team, right? I mean, Stephon Marbury, he was a top 15 player.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so what I'm saying is
was KG on that team?
KG was not on that team. No,
KG was not on it. Has he ever played Olympics?
Yeah, he was played in 2000. So with that being said, to win in 2004 like they did, does that mean that does that mean that the world had caught up at that point, or does that mean that
No, not the world. I just think that team just did something astronomical because ain't no other.
Okay,
I mean, yeah,
it happens.
You could probably say so, but
if we being honest, I don't think Argentina has made it back to the Olympics since 2004. I don't think that their Olympic team has been back.
2008.
2008. I'm sorry, 2008 was the last time. 2008. That was the last. That was the last time. I think that was the last time they were in the Olympics. Argentina.
Was Manu there?
2008. No. 2008 he was on the crew. Yes, he was.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards, they didn't make the crew at all. I mean, they didn't make the Olympics at all.
I don't remember. To be honest with you, I don't remember Argentina making the Olympics after that. I don't.
That's even more credit to Manu.
It was Spain. It was France.
That's even more credit to Manu.
I don't remember Argentina like in 2016. I mean, they may have. Don't quote me on that. They may have, but I mean, that Argentinian team was damn good though, with Manu and Luis Scola. They had a good team.
Mm-hmm. But do you think they should have beat the Americans?
Yeah. When I think about it,
beat them? Okay.
Yeah, because that crew that we had in 2004, that crew was thrown together.
Okay.
That crew,
and I know the Argentina teams. Yeah.
No Shaq, no Kobe. Duncan was on the crew. Iverson was on the crew. No KG. Let's see. During that time, no Tracy McGrady, no Vince Carter. None of these dudes was on the crew. It was Richard Jefferson and Paul Pierce and Stephon Marbury. Let's see. Tim Duncan, Allen Iverson, James as a rook, Carmelo Anthony as a rook, Dwayne Wade as a rook. These are the guys that's on the crew. So, I mean, I thought they did a poor job of throwing that crew together. I do think that. So, all right, Marcus, I know where to find you.
All right, yeah.
What up?
What up, Joe? You hear me?
What's up, brother?
What's up, man? What's up, bud? Yeah. So to your point, that you had 2 points earlier, but the first one, the Olympic point. I think the Olympics doesn't matter that much for America because America has the preeminent basketball talent. America's the epicenter of basketball.
Sure.
So the problem is with America, and I don't know how much you follow football or soccer, depending on how you want to call it.
I've been to Europe. I played in Europe a couple of times, so I know how big a deal it is in Greece. I know how big a deal it is in England, in places like that. I know how big a deal it is. 100%. Yes, I do.
One of the things as well is that if you look at, for example, the World Cup, for example, with like teams like Brazil, it is great when they win. It's a disaster when they lose. Because you have the best talent in the world. So even though, for example, the best players in the league are Luka, Jokic, Giannis, Embiid, they're all from 4 different countries. And you have to essentially say, okay, the rest of that top 20, all Americans. All of those guys. Oh, Shea, sorry, as well, top 5 as well. So you've got all of those 5 guys. You've got Canada, Slovenia, Greece, and Canada, Slovenia. Where's Jokic from? Serbia. So
Serbia.
You got 4 different countries that basically represent, and Canada. You got 5 different countries that represent the 5 best players in the league.
Sure.
And then the next 15 are all going to come from the United States. So then, where is the next best player for Slovenia ranked in the worldwide rankings of basketball, or the next best player for Serbia ranked in the worldwide basketball? So if that's the case, you outmatch those guys by talent on such a significant level that when you are playing them, the value of your winning goes down. Because if you're thinking about on a basketball team, if the starting lineup is, let's say, 100% of the winning, something like LeBron James makes up 60%, The Wayne Wade makes up, 30% or 50%, depending on what team he is. With these guys, each of these individual pieces, because they're so talented, only make up maybe around about 15%. So I don't even get to see your true abilities. I get to see basically a sample size of your ability to get everything to fit in. So when you ask about why we don't talk about Carmelo Anthony, because when we see Carmelo Anthony's abilities exacerbate into a larger team concept, you start to see his individual flaws, what he can't do, what he doesn't do, what he doesn't like to do. So when you Carmelo Anthony, you give him one role, you basically take everybody on an Olympic team and you make them a role player. Whereas where in an NBA game, you have a star player. You still have that on the Olympic team, but everybody is a player. Everybody is given a task to do, because you can't monopolize the ball, because every one of these guys think they're one of the best players in the league. So they're not going to allow you to do that. So if you make everybody a role player on this team, sure, I get LeBron James to pass, get Steph Curry just to shoot, get Kevin Durant just to score, Adebayo and Anthony Davis just to defend. I can do that. But then take them in the course of a season where I ask Anthony Davis to pass out of a double team. That's not happening in this situation. Where we see Anthony Davis's biggest flaw. You see Bam Adebayo's ability not to score at the highest level being a thing that affects him. You see Steph Curry's ability maybe not to run an offense at an elite level, or LeBron James play the course of 40 minutes, or Kevin Durant stay healthy. You see those things on a more larger level. And I think that is the reason why the Olympic basketball doesn't necessarily suit American. It doesn't necessarily help American players in terms of their kind of resume. I think it's an icing on the cake, but it's not necessarily like the biggest piece. But something like Embiid, I think it's something. To me personally, I think Embiid is there for the wrong reasons. I don't know Embiid, but I think Embiid is there to show that he can win in a kind of certain capacity. So I think that's the reason why he's there, because he doesn't. It's not really going to add anything for Embiid to kind of win with the USA team. I think it's just because I'm not sure he ultimately believes he might win a championship. So I think he wants to win that kind of Olympic
and put that on his resume. Sure, but what I want to go back to, and you just made an interesting point about how now I have to sacrifice, because I'm used to being the man on my team, right? I'm used to getting all the shots. I'm used to being the primary ball handler. I'm used to being the distributor. I'm used to doing all of these things, and they're counting on me more. Well, wouldn't it be more? Wouldn't it say more to my game when I do sacrifice? When I am playing with LeBron James, I am playing with Dwayne Wade, I am playing with Chris Bosh, I'm playing with Kobe Bryant, and I am sacrificing some minutes, because I'm normally the guy on the floor for the most minutes, but I'm sacrificing my minutes, and they're telling me, this is what I need you to do. If you're going to be the bucket getter that you are, well, I need you to do it now in a limited amount of time. And you're probably not going to get as many touches as you would get when you were in Denver, or when you're in New York. So that's an adjustment for me as an elite scorer. That's an adjustment for me as a star player. So wouldn't it be more glaring, and wouldn't it make more sense? Not more sense. That's not the word I'm looking for. But wouldn't it amplify how much I sacrifice when I'm playing on an Olympic team with much better players in an international setting where this game has actually changed? This is not the same as the pro game in the NBA. This is a completely different game, and I'm still getting busy in a reduced role, not only in a reduced role, in reduced minutes.
That's true, but here's the caveat to that. When you sacrifice, that's not the best aspect of your game. When I'm playing with you on the NBA level, I don't want you to sacrifice. I want you to be that dude. I don't want you to play. If your talent can only be reduced to 15 minutes, then then what can we really do with that on a championship level? And yes, you have the ability to sacrifice, but the question is, does the team concept in the sense of the NBA team need you to sacrifice? Kind of like with the 2011 Miami Heat. Like with Dwayne Wade, he told LeBron James, I don't need you to be passive. I need you to be LeBron.
We're not going to win like that. We're not
going to win like that. So we're not going. You can win like that on an Olympic level because everybody has been told to sacrifice. It's
not
complete.
Here, though.
It's different when everybody is being told to sacrifice for me, and I need them to play at this way so I can be the best and that we can all win. So I think that's the reason why people don't look at it like that in that sense, because you can be a to sacrifice, but remember, you're sacrificing representing your America, but as an individual. And remember, imagine something that's taken in small doses. Now you're a player that can score like this in 15 minutes, but we need you to do this over the course of the game. So if you can only produce in small doses, then it doesn't really show the effects of what you can actually do. And
Mm.
going back to what you were saying, there was a point you made earlier. You were talking about, about how winning matters, and what you were saying is that how you win and where you win as well. And I think one of the things as well, I know there's like this kind of push to show, just look at the person's game, not look at if winning is important or not. I disagree with that. I think winning is ultimately the most important thing, and it's the most important thing for the players because imagine now 450 players, you all have the same skill sets for the most part. You all know how to dribble. You all learn how to play the game at a certain level. But what differentiates you is the ability to win. So
To
if
affect winning, to affect winning, I can get with
winning,
that. Sure.
so if
Okay.
you're Russell Westbrook and you are been one of the best players in the league for basically most of your prime, if out your prime, you're one of the top 10 players in the league. And the only difference between, let's say, you and Steph Curry, because I think there's a little bit of a rivalry there, you look at Steph Curry and think, God, this guy, I don't think this guy as a player to player is better than me. I can do everything he does. I can pass better than him. I can rebound better than him. I can maybe score at a similar level. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the mindset. But the only thing that I don't know tangibly how to do is to win. And that gives him the edge over every single time me and him encounter each other. It's an ego trip. And it's the reason why that these guys go to different teams towards the end of the year because they want towards the end of the career because they want to feel something. There's nothing left for them to accomplish on an individual level. But the thing that they don't understand is how to win. And you can see it because every time you look at those players, even from an Olympic standpoint, look at all of those, you can track it throughout all of those times that they do it. For the next they come across, so 92, you got Barkley kind of breaks out and have his MVP season. You
Sure.
got 96 is Shaquille O'Neal is his time that he kind of breaks through and becomes that kind of big time star player. You've got kind of 2000 where you start to see the rise of Vince Carter, Kevin Garnett, all of these guys that are on
There was
this
always
team.
somebody. There was always somebody that came out of
Somebody.
after they played in the Olympics. There was always somebody that came out of that ended up doing
Magical.
far more. So like, Gary Payton is a prime example. He was on the 96 Olympic team. Seattle is in the finals that very next year in 1996. I think that I think that when you factor in, I just feel like the international game. I'm not going to say that it supersedes the pro game here in America, right? I'm not going to say that, but I just feel like the international talent and what it's become today, as opposed to what it was in 1992. Because again, Amari, we hadn't seen that level of talent at one time around the world.
Yeah.
We hadn't seen that, but now we're in a space where not necessarily the world. I don't think that the world is catching up in that aspect where it's this amount of talent on one group. I feel like teams have gotten a lot better. I will attest to that 100%. But to say that when I'm going up against the best that China has to offer, the best that Argentina, the best that Germany, Spain, France, and even though I'm on a damn good team also, and it's not the same as it was 30 years ago, but when I'm going up against that and we're winning and I'm contributing at a high level, I'd like to think that what I've done should be held in a higher regard.
Oh, I think it's held in a high regard. I think in terms of, but it's not held in the highest regard.
Right.
And now teams now like USA, they can't just wake up into games. Game can't start at 6 o'clock and they wake up at 4 and just come then just destroy Serbia, for example. I mean, they're not good. They're not saying they're not good enough to do that, but the rest of the world has become better. And for America, it is a big statement for them to win the Olympics in basketball because what it says is that we are the worldwide leaders in this sport. And we need to basically, every Olympics, America needs to send their best team like a military and basically say that we are the leaders in this and you need to take this away from us.
That part right there, Mari. That is it right there. No more of these throwing these crews together, which I had to retract a statement that I said earlier where I felt like 2004 was probably the only time that they had done that. Up until then, we basically did have a national team. And I feel like we're still doing that, right? I think where I got it misconstrued was that these teams like Spain, Germany, those guys have been together since they were kids.
Yeah.
Not realizing that the teams that like Team USA is sending over there, it's been pretty consistent. Devin Booker, Jason Tatum, Drew Holiday, Bam Adebayo, and Kevin Durant. They were all on the team in 21.
Yeah, they
All of
was.
those guys. All of those guys were on the team in 21. In 16, 16, KD was on the team, right?
Yeah.
In 12, KD, James, Carmelo Anthony. I mean, we've had some consistency when it comes to our national team.
But this team feels different. This team feels like they've sent in the cavalry in this sense. They've sent in the LeBrons, they've sent in the Currys, they sent in the Kawhis because they wanted to ensure dominance. This wasn't a situation where they felt like if you send maybe a Devin Booker, maybe we'll send in the Jaylen Brown this time. Like a lot of these guys have been sent in to kind of make sure we're gonna put our foot down on this. We don't want a FIBA situation where we lose to Germany. We're gonna make sure that we're gonna come here and we're gonna. The reason why they got a LeBron James, I don't think it was for LeBron James' individual play, but I think it's understand the sense of urgency because he don't have much time left in basketball, and he's almost coming as like the sergeant that's kind of just there to say, "Listen, guys, we need to get ourselves in order, and we need to win now." And I think that is the reason why it feels like that this team, because it feels like they brought it. Because Kawhi Leonard could have had many of times to play in the Olympics. You could have given 2014, 18, no, 18, sorry, 2000. It would have been what 20. He could have played. He wasn't injured in 2020. He could have played
No,
in
he wasn't.
2020.
He could have played in 20, but COVID happened.
COVID did happen.
And then he tore his knee up in 21
Oh, God.
before the summer, because that's when the Olympics were. He tore his knee up and he couldn't play. So, Mario, it's good to talk to you, brother. I appreciate you.
Yep.
Absolutely. What up?
Yo, you get me?
Yep. What up?
Yeah. I just real quick about Olympic team. I guess both the Olympic teams in aspect. The men's what does gold medals mean? Gold medals mean the same thing it meant back in '92. I mean, it's representing your country. You know what I'm saying? It means a lot. I'm pretty sure it meant a great deal to Barkley, Clyde, and Malone, and all of them, man. And they saw themselves, and Jordan saw himself on this large billboard. And what was it in overseas
Barcelona.
in Barcelona, man? Like he ain't never think he'd seen it. He said, "quote," he said, "This is some shit I can show to my kids one day."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I'm pretty sure it means the same exact thing to this group.
Here's the thing that I want to ask though, Leaf. If it means that much to these guys, why don't people talk more about it? Like Carmelo Anthony, why isn't he held in a higher regard considering how good he was in an international game? Why don't we talk about KD more in the international game, even though KD's game is basically tailor-made for the international game? I mean, Chris Middleton is an NBA champ and he's a gold medalist, right? So these guys, like you said, it means a lot to them, 100%, and it should, to represent your country. What I'm trying to figure out is why don't fans hold gold medals in a higher regard? Is it just because we're expected to win? And I'm asking you that is because if that's true, then why aren't we doing the same thing for NBA championships? Because if a team is expected to win the NBA championship, we shouldn't hold them in that high of a regard neither.
I agree with you. I mean, and I guess somewhat of the case could be said about this past NBA champions. I guess if you want to say that, but at the same time, we don't put Olympic basketball, we don't put FIBA basketball above the NBA.
No,
At least our fan base don't. I mean, like the thing is, the one thing the one thing I was thinking about while this whole Olympic thing was being played is that our brand of basketball was being played in '92. And when I say our brand, I mean the American brand, the American NBA brand of basketball was being played in '92 and '96. What happened along the years is that a lot of the European style and a lot of the European style of play made its way into the NBA game and kind of disrupted a lot of the stuff that you don't see anymore. Because the thing is, like we it was a conversation being had yesterday on the show about how Shaq and Olajuwon would fare against Joel Embiid. And me personally, I agree with you, just off the strength that I know for a fact Joel Embiid wouldn't be able to handle that type of physicality for 48 minutes. And we all seen him wear down time and time again. So it
like Olajuwon's just gonna let Joel Embiid blow by him.
yeah,
Like he's
yeah,
just gonna
yeah.
he's just gonna let him shoot jump shots over him all night long. Like he's
Yeah,
never gonna.
it's like
That's
because
all
we
it's gonna
we
be.
we talk about how much Joel is going to score against them. How about what Shaq and Olajuwon, two top 10 all time talents, are going to do to him? How about this is one of the reasons why I laughed when you said Joker would do that to some of the centers of the '90s back then. We forget a lot of them dudes were pretty good two-way players at their best. I
They
mean,
were.
Ewan was 28 and 10 at his best. Alonzo Mourning was a 2010 guy in the 90s. So we like
2010,
let's
23 and 10, something like that. 23 and 11.
yeah. So my thing is like the disrespect that's shown towards what is initially our style, the American NBA style of play, has been lost. And now you're seeing all of these threes being taken up. Now you're seeing a whole lot of perimeter play. That was regarded years ago for a lot of the European talent. It wasn't regarded for us. The shooters that we had, the Reggie Millers, the Glenn Rices, just to name those names, those guys were 3-level scorers. They could get it in the mid range, they could get it in a close range, they could get it in a post. I remember Big Dog Glenn Robinson was one of the smoothest shooters I ever seen, but he could get close to the basket. He could play back to the basket. He could get closer. He didn't. He wasn't delegated strictly to the 3-point line. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, I feel like a lot of what you're seeing now, it is specifically from the guards. I think this shit is N1 mixtape. They just didn't want to add it till years later. Now that Steph and all these other dudes is doing it and they hit threes, they cool with it. It's just the game is a lot opened up. You know what I'm saying? It moved away. The physicality was taken out of the game. It's something that your cousin talked about. The less physical, the more physical he became, he started seeing everybody just move and move and move and move away and move far, far away from the basket.
So, Leaf, let me ask you this: if you have the NBA game, right? Because according to you, because I want to make sure I'm following you, the Euros adopted the NBA game. They played a lot of the NBA game, and then somewhere along the line, the Euros added their spin on the Euro game. So the Euro step and shooting the long ball, the way the Europeans play, moving the ball a little bit more. They implemented that more into the NBA game. Is that what I'm understanding from you?
Yes, that's exactly what they did. And the reason why they did it is because if you go back, man, like in the early 2000s, once we started to see the rules started to change and the physicality of the game slowly started to be taken out on both sides of the ball, mainly on defense, you started to see teams. What happened after Malice in the Palace? You started seeing Steve Nash, Mike D'Antoni, and that offense come to fruition. You started to see a whole bunch of teams that was perimeter oriented start having success in the playoffs and start having more and more success in the postseason. Because it's not the thing that we haven't. We saw these teams before in the '90s, but they wasn't as dominant as because the rules didn't favor them. We saw Run TMC in the '90s. We saw the '80s Denver Nuggets. What were they doing? Them teams offensively, they was probably, if not just as good offensively, but defensively and physically, bro, they couldn't hold afloat for 48 minutes. They couldn't hold afloat for 82 games. Why? Because the rules changed. So the rules favor a lot more of these perimeter based teams. It's one of the reasons why you didn't see a successful Memphis Grizzlies teams. You remember that grit and grind team with Zebo and Marcus All? It's one of the reasons we always kept. What we kept saying? We kept saying this team is good. They just playing in the wrong era. That's what we kept saying. That was one of the main things.
That's an interesting theory. Yeah, real interesting. All right.
Yeah, but to get on the before I finish, to get on the two more things. To get on the women's side, you was 100% right. 56 straight wins, is it? With 56 straight wins in Olympic play. I guess I say 55 because the Team WNBA put a foot up their ass. I saw that game, man, from top to bottom. So if you want to call yourself the best in the world, you got to beat everybody in the world. And as far as Jason Tatum getting benched, man, Me and Bobby, I'm pissed with Bobby, but I have to agree with him. You know what this is? They trying to split up the Boston Celtics. Everybody knows what this is. They're like that. You know what that is? Come on,
It's
you leave out the Finals
I don't think it's, to be
MVP.
honest with you, I don't think it's, I think it's much to do about nothing. But I mean, we can definitely make more of it. You could
I
definitely make
mean,
more of it.
but
But
here's the thing: you got to ask yourselves with this Steve Kerr, who's known for playing a deep roster. If you go look back at them Warriors teams in the 2010s, they had deep benches, they had deep teams. Somehow, some way, you forgot about somebody that just won an NBA championship.
well, he didn't forget
You really
about him. I mean,
expect
we
me to
went
believe
over
that?
it. I mean, they didn't forget about him. We went over this before the game plan. My issue is why you decided not to play him. The idea that's my issue. Like, listen, come on, man. Just tell me that you don't. Don't hand me the bullshit. Don't do that to me.
Yeah, that's what I said.
No,
And
you
listen,
ain't
bro,
gotta do
look,
that.
and
Yo,
listen,
they got bigger perimeter
and
players.
you and
They got bigger front lines, so we need rebounding. Yo, I'm one of the best rebounders in the game at my position. I can defend on the perimeter with just about anybody. I'm
yeah,
not boo boo the fool. I do not have that written on my forehead.
and
Come on,
you
man,
know,
don't do that
and
to me.
listen. However, I feel about Tatum, Brown, and the Boston Celtics has nothing to do with this situation. You was trying to feed somebody some bullshit. And I know a bullshitter when I see one, bro, because I do it a whole lot of times than most. On this channel, I was called a leader of emotions over here. I was called a leader of negative emotions over here. Apparently, I affect bad behavior. That's apparently what I do over here. I come in with the face like, and then I affect bad behavior.
You do
So,
have
so
something to do with that, believe I will
I
100%.
have something to do with that.
You do have
That's
something to
being
do with
that
that,
was
son.
placed on me.
Yeah, you do
Chat,
have
but
something to do
so
with that.
remember when you hear it next time, that was placed on me by the person that runs this channel. So I know a bullshitter when I see one. You know what I'm saying? Don't tell me it's 40 something minutes in the game and then all right, yo, somehow, some way, somebody that just won an NBA champion
Ain't enough minutes for you. I ain't really sure I got
ain't
enough
enough
minutes.
minutes
All
for
right,
somebody
come on,
that just came off of 2 seasons averaging 28 and 8
come on,
and
man.
4. Like,
Come on,
you
yo.
kidding me?
Come on, yo. Stop
You
playing.
who you trying to fool, bro? Like, I'm watching you, bro. I saw you. That's like
I'm
somebody
good.
trying to cross the street. And remember, you told me it was like, yo, he got shot right in the middle of Times Square. I saw you. I saw the whole thing.
You gonna tell me it wasn't you? I'm looking right at you.
All the cameras is on you,
I
bro.
saw
Like,
you pull out the heat. I saw you. You looked at me too. You actually saw me after you did it. So give me a break,
at
yo.
the end of the day,
Yeah,
no
I'm good.
bullshit apology was even needed. We know why you did it. I know why you did it, bro. You might be in the dark in this, but I don't believe shit. Screw that, bro. Like it's something behind everything. This is the
Yeah,
NBA we talking about.
yeah.
Stop this.
All right, Leaf. I know where to find you at, brother. Good to talk to
All
you,
right,
my
man.
man.
Yeah,
Yep.
yep,
Be
definitely.
easy. Oh, yo. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls all over the world, that's all the time I got tonight. That was awesome. But I do have one more super chat that I have to get to, and that's from Leftover Take. He said, was Pip the most valuable second option in NBA history? MJ was 1-9 and never won more than 40 games without him. Well, I tell you what, Leftover, I don't just think he was the most valuable second option. I think he's the best second option in NBA history. I don't think that there's a guy that was a better number two. Excuse me, that there was a better number two than him. There's some people who will say, well, Kobe Bryant was a better number two. Well, first of all, Kobe was a number one. He wasn't a number two. He was a number one, playing a number two. For what Scottie Pippen did for that unit and him sacrificing for Jay to allow Jay to do whatever Jay was doing, scoring, rebounding. I'm going to take the tougher defensive assignment as they got older, right? As they got older, not only as they got older, as they got stronger. I'm going to alleviate some of that pressure off of you. 100%. I think Scottie Pippen is the best number two that I've ever seen. No doubt about it. Now, there have been some other number twos, quote unquote, that have been more talented, but they've also been number ones. Like KD was a number one. Steph was a number one. So I don't think that Kobe and Shaq, KD and Steph, I don't think that those guys were number two. I don't think any of those guys were number twos. Now, and I'm on record saying this, the reason why it would have never happened in Los Angeles because Shaq was never going to take a back seat to Bryant. He was never going to take a back seat to him, ever. He was always going to be that. Always going to be he was always going to be the number one. Just like Bryant was never going to take a back seat to Shaq. Even though he would run the offense, he always felt like he was that dude. So I think I think Scottie Pippen is the best number two in NBA history. No doubt, no doubt about it. So that's all the time I got tonight, guys. I know where to find you guys at. I know where you guys are. You guys know where I am. You know where to find me. If I'm not here, I'm on a panel every day, 11 to 2 on the Players Choice Network. If I'm not there, me and my man Tony Tone, we're here on Tuesday nights. He's not here tonight, but we will be back next week. We absolutely will be back next week. I'm here on Monday nights. I'm usually here Wednesday and Thursday. And then on Saturday, me and my man Big Ox, right? Me and my man Big Ox, we do Chill with Chill. And this is where you can find me at. I'm not hard to find. I will see you guys soon. But until then, put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother. Last time you talk to your mother, call your mother. I will talk to you guys soon. But until then, take it light. Take it. Absolutely, man. It was good to see you guys tonight, man. I really did.